talk today will be on the hot button issue of Hispanic immigration. And as a start, okay, stop me if you've heard this. An expert in the law wanted to test Jesus, so he asked him, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said he is to love God and to love his neighbor. So the guy then asked, "Who's my neighbor?" Apparently it's just not the guy next door, because Jesus then launches into a story about a man on the road who has been beat up badly and left half dead. A couple of men from the guy's own country pass by him doing nothing. Then a guy from another country stops and takes care of him. Jesus says the guy from the other country who helped was the quote-unquote true neighbor. And as a result, apparently he's headed for heaven. As for the other guys who didn't help, well, might be headed for another place. This is what's commonly referred to as the parable of the Good Samaritan, the spirit of which is embodied in almost all faiths. Now on to the Hispanic immigration issue. In our research for this, we went south of the border to Juarez, Mexico, which is colloquially and sadly referred to as the murder capital of Mexico. The whole western side of Juarez is a slum, with families living in one-room shacks with no running water, no electricity, and little food. People there are tremendously beat up by constant violence, by constant poverty. We went to the San Joaquin Valley in California, where migrant farm workers, many of them illegal, toil from sunup to sundown for extremely minimal wages. They live with their families in shacks. There are cancer clusters all over the valley because of the exposure to farm pesticides. These people too are tremendously beat up. Then there are people in Latin America, like the country of Guatemala. On a campaign stop in Houston, Texas, we met with two illegals from Guatemala. They were brothers who had taken 6 months, that's 6 months, to walk here from Guatemala. They were both farm workers in their country, making $1 a day. Their mother needed heart surgery. She needed it bad. It would cost $2,000 there. These brothers' only hope was to come here and to work until they made enough to save their mother's life, and then go home. They too were beat up by poverty back home, and what's more, their mother was half dead. Okay, now, here are these Hispanics that are beat up pretty bad by their circumstances. And out of desperation, they come here. Because getting citizenship is such a long, arduous process right now with the system. Many don't have time to do that. The mother with the heart problems, for instance, would be dead. So they crossed the border illegally. Now we have two options the way I see it. We can help these people or not. According to the biblical passage cited earlier, the answer would seem a no-brainer. On a stop in Hobbs, New Mexico, I told the Sun News that we should not look at these new arrivals here, both legal and illegal, as burdens, but as tremendous spiritual opportunities to help. And I told Channel 3 News in Phoenix, Arizona, that our administration would push for amnesty and family reunification while also working to fix and streamline the U.S. immigration system to make it a lot more user-friendly for these people. And in tandem, and finally, it's my belief we need to do everything possible south of the border to help people in their homelands become as free and as sustainable as possible. So often people don't want to leave their homelands, their culture, their language. But if their children are hungry or oppressed, well, what would you do?